For years, we used computers to automate workflows. Today, millions are turning to a screen to help them think through their most difficult decisions. We ask them to navigate relationships, challenge our deep-seated assumptions, and provide life advice. Look at how these models map onto this grid. Researchers ran the World Values Survey, a tool mapping human morality, on several AI models. It reveals that while predicting words, they output distinct, measurable value systems based on their training data. These value maps are expected, given the origins of the software. The real surprise is how often we ignore what these embedded worldviews mean for us as everyday users. We are inviting an opinionated entity into our private moments of reflection, while continuing to treat the interaction as if it were a perfectly neutral calculation. For thousands of years, the human mind was shaped by a physical, social environment. Parents, teachers, and peers who defined the boundaries of what we considered normal. Through that evolution, we developed internal psychological safeguards. When another human speaks, we instinctively hear the personality and the history behind their words. When advice travels between humans, it hits internal filters. We calibrate what we hear based on the speaker's history and presence. In an AI interaction, the source node disappears, but the worldview remains. Without a person to evaluate, those barrier layers fail to engage. Without a face or a voice to trigger those evolutionary alarms, our minds can struggle to activate their natural defenses. The AI's output arrives with a perceived objectivity that we rarely grant to each other. By removing the visible persona, the interaction bypasses our cognitive checkpoints, leaving us vulnerable to whatever biases were programmed into the system. We tend to think of influence as a single dramatic event, a debate or an argument that shifts our perspective in an instant. But influence is rarely that loud. Beliefs drift through thousands of micro-interactions and subtle reframings. We invite this stream of nudges every time we ask AI for an edit, a summary, or advice, allowing their cumulative effect to build over time. The most significant influence AI possesses comes from the fact that we rarely consciously consider its values while we are using it. Because the conversation feels grounded in data and reason, the machine's subtle reframings can bypass our critical scrutiny entirely. Over time, this invisible drift shifts our baseline. Eventually, the artificial perspective of the model begins to feel like our own natural thought process. AI is now a permanent structural pillar of the human social environment. Behind the scenes, governments and tech labs are debating exactly which values should be embedded into the foundation of these models before they reach the public. For centuries, societies fought over what was written in textbooks or broadcast on the news. Today, the debate centers on the worldview of a system that millions of people converse with every single day. This shift requires a new form of literacy. It is no longer enough to learn how to write better prompts or understand the technical mechanics of the machine. We have to recognize that every response carries a voice with a specific worldview, even when there is no person standing behind it. The ultimate challenge is not mastering the technology, but how we behave when faced with an entirely unprecedented entity, a worldview without a person.